To make this bracelet, we have leather cord. It's kind of a suede leather cord. Ours is turquoise, but you can use any color you like. And we have 14 inches long, and it's 3 millimeters across. Then we have 7 beads, and these beads are 7 millimeters in diameter, and then they have a hole that's 3 millimeters. So it's kind of a big hole for a bead, but that's important because we want to be able to put our 3 millimeter cord through these beads. And then we have 21 silver jump rings. These are also 7 millimeters, so they're the same size as the beads. And these are soldered closed jump rings, and we're going to use those as spacers. The first thing we want to do is feed a bead onto the leather cord, but this cord is cut straight across, and it's going to be a little bit easier to feed it into a bead if we cut a little diagonal on the end. So that's just a little tip that we can just cut a little diagonal there, and that'll make it easier. We're going to start by feeding on one of our large beads. This is the 7 millimeter bead with the 3 millimeter hole in the center. We're going to feed that one on, and then we're going to follow that with 7 of our jump rings. And these jump rings were also the same size as the bead, 7 millimeters. And that's kind of nice because when they're all together on the bracelet, they form kind of a same size unit across the front of the bracelet, the beads and the jump rings. And next I'm going to feed on another one of our large beads. These are nice silver, kind of Tibetan-silver type beads. So I've got one of those on after the jump rings, and then I'm going to do 7 more of our jump rings. And the rhythm of the bracelet is that it has a bead, 7 spacers or jump rings. We're using the jump rings as spacers. A bead, 7 more jump rings, a bead, and 7 more jump rings, and then a bead. So it's sort of 3 sections of 7 jump rings divided up by beads. I'm going to count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 more. And then put on 1 more of our Tibetan silver beads. You could really do this with different beads as long as the hole is big enough to go through, to have the leather cord go through it. That's going to be the limiting factor. So these are my last 7 of my jump rings here. Then I'm going to do 1 more of our silver beads, large silver bead. And this is going to be the center then of the bracelet. So I'm going to center it on the cord, and I can do that by kind of eyeballing it, but then I can also match up the ends here and pull on it and move the beads so they're centered. And then to keep those in the center of the bracelet, we're going to tie a knot at each end of our beading. So I'm just going to make a loop like that where I want the knot. This is an easy way to make sure the knot winds up where you want it, is make the loop where you want the knot and then feed the end through. So there's 1 knot, and then I'm going to make a knot on the other side. So I just make a loop where I want the knot and then feed the end through like that, and then pull it into place so it's in the right spot. And we're going to make it not too snug up against the beads. This has an extra twist in it. Let me untwist that. There we go. You could make it snug so the beads don't move, but I think it's fun to see that they're really loose little things. That's nice. So I like having a little extra space between those knots so that this can move around a little bit. So that's the center of our bracelet. Now we want to do the clasp. And for the clasp, what we're going to do is feed 2 cords, the 2 cords, in opposite directions through one of the beads. And that will make it a sliding clasp, and it makes the bracelet adjustable and easy to put on and take off. So I put one side through, and then I'm going to put the other side through. I need to cut this end at a diagonal like I did the other one. And this is a little bit of a tight fit because it is 3 millimeters in there, and we're putting 2 3 millimeter cords in there. So what I think helps is kind of get it started and then roll the bead a little bit, and that helps you jiggle both ends through. So there's the ends, and that's how you tighten the bracelet. You pull the ends like that, and then you pull it open to make it large enough to put it on. But if we leave it like this, when you pull it open, you might pull those ends all the way out. So we're going to put some stopper beads on here, and that's what these last 2 beads are for. We're going to put 1 bead on one end here and tie a knot after that bead, I'm trying to tie it right at the very end, so there we go. And that'll be one stopper bead. And then on this end, I'm going to feed this in and tie a little knot at the end of this piece. Just a simple knot, just a once knot, once around and knotted like that. That's all you need for that. And now when we open it to put it on, it stops itself from coming apart. And what I can do now is see if I have it the right size. I want it big enough that I can put it over my hand. And if it's too big, then the ends, when it's tightened, will be really floppy. So what you might want to do is try it on and see what's the smallest amount you can have sticking out. So if you find that these floppy ends are too floppy, you can just move those beads and knots up a little bit, as long as it's still big enough when it's pulled open to fit over your hand. And then you put it on and you'll tighten it up. And there is a cute little jump ring bracelet.